All right. Let's see how this looks. So let me see here if I can get set up here. So I wanted to try doing something different today. Let's see how this looks. I thought it'd be fun to maybe like try this, see how it works, see if you guys enjoy this. We do a little bit of eBay hunting. I think that I do need to finally get, I think I'm going to splurge and get a second monitor and actually get a little bit of a station going so that I can maybe make these videos in a way that's, you know, a bit smoother and more pleasant to watch. I'm interested to see how does this sound, everyone. If everyone coming in can just let me know. Oh yeah, I need to shout out Z and G for the name, the treasure hunt. Those videos were a long time ago now, you say, but yeah, those were really fun. Were those even before I had a channel? I can't even remember now. But yeah, those are great videos. Yeah, so definitely, I guess, stealing the treasure hunt name. As always, I think it's fun to do things live. And I also am down to like answer questions. We can have conversations about different cards that come up. But yeah, the goal for today, I guess, is going to be, yeah, have a market conversation, hang out, and do a little bit of like eBay searching. I thought it'd be an interesting way to actively talk about cards that we look at. So if anyone wants me to look up a certain card with a certain value, we can have a conversation around it. So generally, I mean, the first thing that I do, I've been on lots of auctions myself. These days, I'm more auction heavy than I used to be. Before the Pokemon market really exploded, I was more targeting specific cards that I thought were particularly undervalued from specific eras. And I was actually less concerned with getting them at the perfect price and more just concerned with like getting as many as I could, you know, of the PSA 10 variety, or we're talking about trophy cards or Art Academy cards. I was just trying to buy the ones that would come up on the market, as long as they were kind of near market price. I at times paid higher than market for certain cards, or higher than last sold, I should say. Now, very much mostly just buying auctions, buying large lots, buying cards that I'm eventually preparing to probably send off to grading. Once grading comes back down to $10 is my expectation and hope. And then I am buying cards that to fill out collections, and then also buying already graded cards and some sealed stuff, although mostly I always buy graded cards and raw cards, the majority of what I collect or speculate in. All right, so let's see if this works. So normally one thing I might type in would just be like, one thing I actually kind of like to start with, because sometimes I like to buy really big auctions, and I like to buy auctions that oftentimes the very expensive auctions you can get at the best deals, like 40, 50, 60, 70% valuation, particularly when the auctions are mixed up of a lot of different things, a lot of different types of cards. So one thing I will do to start is I'll type in Pokemon at the top here, and I'll go to auction. I'll go to highest, and sometimes I look through the highest just like this. The issue with looking at it like this is you're going to have to look through a lot of stuff that is just way overpriced, you know, way above what anyone would pay for it. Interesting. Let's take a look at this. So we got a PSA 10. So as soon as I see something like this, I look for what type of rating this person has. This person has 0 feedback. Authenticity guarantee. This item is verified. Yeah. So I would do this now. Going through this can take quite a bit of time. So often what I do, particularly if I don't have that much time and I don't just want to peruse sort of everything, is sorry, my face is there so I can't see it, is I'll click advanced. And I'll go to like number of bids and I'll go like 1 to 1,000 or something like that, which will cover everything. You can also do it within a time limit. And what this is it filters out all those auctions that nobody is bidding on, which likely is going to get you the better auctions. Now you can miss out on some great auctions because sometimes no one bids on really good auctions. So when I have the time, I do search everything. I do this every probably at least 2 to 3 days or so, just to kind of take a look at what is going on the high end. So as we can see, got some booster boxes. I generally, unless I'm trying to fill out a collection goal, I generally do not buy single items like this, as they tend to go for more, unless I'm specifically finishing collection goals and or I'm buying cards that are really, really difficult to come by. For example, like this no rarity Mewtwo here in a PSA 10. If I was specifically looking for a PSA 10 one, there aren't going to be many of those in the world. This one's being sold by TCA Gaming, Rusty, a reputable seller. It's also probably going to go pretty high because it's being sold by Rusty, and generally items on his page tend to do pretty well. They're a little bit more eyes, a little bit more attention, and that trustworthiness allows people to spend a little bit more money. But that would be the type of item I would buy or bid on if I really wanted that specific item. Always like to see these PSA 10, gold stars. Mudkip's fairly low. The Torchic of the 3 of them is the one that has the extremely low pop in PSA 10. But the Trico and the Mudkip are also, good cards. Probably not going to be bidding on any of these, though. Always a lot of Charizards towards the top. Here's an unlimited rocket box. Sent in for, so nothing I'm too interested and excited in. I'm always interested in these. I've really been, I'm not signed in right now. But one thing I like to do is I like to track and watch right now things that I find interesting or I'm not exactly sure what card this price is going to end at. I like to sort of know what everything is doing and what all of the bigger cards, so that I can quickly calculate prices. And when I see something, I can have a sense of, is that what it's selling for? I run the Patreon, I run this channel. So knowing all of the price history and the data and having it sort of in my bones helps me do an effective job of buying things and also running this channel. So I'm not sure what a Japanese Crystal Charizard is going for right now. I think it's in PSA 10 from the Mysterious Mountains. So I would normally watch this. I'd like to follow it. I'm also very interested in how Japanese is doing compared to crystal cards. Japanese. Sorry, I worked all day. My brain's pretty tired. How Japanese is doing compared to English. And so I'm following how the crystal cards are doing relative to each other versus the shinings are doing, compared to each other, versus other types of set cards and modern set cards. Because I think it's an interesting time to see what people are willing to pay more for, and kind of what's sort of moving up, what's moving down. Here's another PSA 10 first edition Shadowless card, highly questionable. I've never been on any of those unless it was from a very reputable seller personally ever. Those types of cards at this point in the hobby, unless it's being sold through like a TCA Gaming, are very likely only going to be coming up through PWCC Premier Auction or like Heritage or Golden at this point. 95 out of 100 times type of thing. Okay, this is a cool one. So we got, one of the Japanese Art Academy cards. Still a pretty good price. 5 days left. I'm sure it's going to go up quite a bit. So this is just something I'll do just to familiarize myself with kind of what's going on. Love that Plasma Charizard. PSA 10 first edition Shining. Got a lot of these, you know, PSA 10 Charizards from different eras. So we see a binder like this. I usually do like to check it out. It says it's mint condition. Yeah, so we want to take a look and try to get a sense of the condition. I don't like these binders. I've had bad experiences. Just for all you sellers out there, if you took these cards and they were actually mint, if you took these cards out of the binder and put them and sleeved them and just bought card savers and put them into card savers, I would immediately feel much better about these cards, as that they're probably well protected. They're potentially even packed fresh. And now a lot of that is irrational maybe on my part, and salesmanship and would be salesmanship on your part. You really want to accurately describe your cards, but this worries me. This is a concerning way to display and keep some pretty expensive cards in what is probably an old, potentially kind of yucky, dirty. The other thing that can happen is cards can look fairly mint, but they can have dirt on them from sitting in these like old binders, old sleeves for very long. I'm not sure that's what's happening here. I don't know, but just tips for sellers out there on how to display your collections. You would get a lot more interest and have a lot more people excited about it. You know, you can see, you know, are these two cards in one sleeve here? Maybe, maybe not. Could easily be a sleeve on both sides and separated, but it's just not a, you know, no back pictures here, right? So it just says mint, you know, so all I can do is really check centering. I can't even really see if there are scratches on them or not. I can't see obvious scratches. To be fair, it doesn't look that dirty, which is good, but I'm certainly not paying anywhere near actual mint prices for these cards in a binder like this. Let's see, here we've got one back. Yeah, I mean, so the back, like I see a few little white dots. You just can't really tell. You haven't, you know, you really don't know. You know, I don't see any egregious bends or anything, but could be some dents that are hard to see. So let's look through this. Yeah, so it's in. Again, pull the cards out, put them in card savers. Free tip for you all. Let's see what they say down here. Neo Discovery mint condition, first edition mint condition. Neo Discovery only missing the Umbreon. The cards are immaculate and are PSA worthy. In my opinion, most of the hauls would fetch a 9 at least from PSA grading. Don't like that. That's another red flag. Someone who does a lot of grading would never say 9s at least, because cards that should probably be 9 can easily get 8s. No one would sell them that high. That's concerning to me. That shows that either the person is maybe a little bit of a pushy, sketchy salesman and is trying to push these cards higher than they should be. I don't like that. Or just isn't experienced, and then I don't really trust your PSA, you know, grading here. The one card I saw on the back had a few white nicks, and that's the only back that I saw. I would be really surprised if these were all 9s and 10s. Someone can definitely, you know, it says photos, videos of condition. Okay, good. So they do add maybe a Google Drive thing here. We can take a look at it quickly if you guys want. Let's see. It says, I sourced these cards myself for personal collection. They were handpicked for their amazing quality and have been very well looked after, never leaving sleeve/folder ever. I will send these insured, tracked, and special delivery. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's take a look quickly at the photos. What happened there? Didn't work. Having trouble right now. My computer's freaking out a little bit. All right, forget it. I'm having trouble putting it up, so I'm just going to skip that. But yeah, so again, if there are close-up pictures and they look really good, you may want to bid on it. Clearly, the price is very low. for this if they are, you know, genuinely 9s and possible 10 candidates. So yeah, just so everyone knows. Okay, so let's head back here. Pokey Collectible saying, nice to have a con and Jack. You're always thinking of new ways to bring content to us. Yeah, I don't want to repeat myself, and obviously it can be a definite challenge to come up with new and interesting ways. I don't want to talk about specific cards too much because I don't want to shill things. I have a room full of things that I just bought that I would love to just come and show everyone, but I don't want to do that type of content. So I think this is a nice way of kind of having fun, doing something different, and also educating, particularly for people who aren't as experienced. Okay, so let's keep going here and take a look here. Got some more Charizards. You know, as you guys can see, there's a ton of first edition Charizards just constantly going up for sale. They're always being bought, but they're also always for sale. Got a PSA 9 Unlimited. Got a Shadowless. Here's a complete base set Pokemon cards, WotC, not to be missed personal collection. Another tip for people, don't say things like not to be missed or like invest now or really important. That stuff is not not gonna go over well for most people. Okay. Let's see. Okay, just checking. Sorry, I'm just checking to see if our sound in our video is still good. It's the first time I've ever doing this, so I'm just constantly looking back. I think we're pretty good. Kevin says the G Drive link in the last post had videos of front and back of the cards, which definitely helped. Yeah. So I do, that's definite plus. I do like when they send that, and that is a good way to send it. One piece of advice that goes off the last one, let your cards do the selling. When you sell me like best ever, we'll definitely grade a PSA 9, PSA 10. Don't do that. I would suggest just let the cards, if you have really good cards, put them up front, let them do the selling. Focus on just having really good, high quality pictures, making your cards look as mint and beautiful and perfect and presentable as possible. Get some good lighting, put them in a card saver, etc. Make the cards and the pictures do the talking, not your words, because they don't mean anything, and then it actually is a turnoff for most of us who are really, looking for high quality cards from trustworthy people. Here's a Rayquaza Gold Star from Israel. Let's take a quick look. So very good condition, which could mean anywhere from probably PSA 3, to. Let's take a look at it. Again, not a great close-up picture. We can see it a little bit. I definitely see some whitening. Hard to see if there are dirts or dents. Okay, now it's out of the case, which is good. You can see that there's silvering on the bottom and the top, which means that it's going to be considerably played, generally speaking, when there's that type of silvering on this type of card. Some WotC stuff silvers like this, and the condition tends to be better on the back. But generally speaking, a little bit of warping potentially on this, which can be concerning. And then we see that there is a crease. You guys see that crease on the bottom left that number or whatever in the sleeve was blocking. Yeah, that's significant. So this we're talking about is probably a PSA 1 or 2 with that significant of a crease. Maybe more on the 2 side. Let's see if we can see that crease if we go back on the front. And again, it's all about angle. If he probably showed us the angle in the light, you might see that really bad crease on that bottom left. So, again, a lot of money And I think probably some people are looking at this card, see very good condition, and they might think like PSA 6 or something like that. I'm seeing a lot of people overpaying, or PSA 4 or 5 even. I'm seeing a lot of people, generally speaking, overpaying for raw, like damaged cards, because people don't say damaged. This is to me, saying very good condition is a little bit misleading. I would say damaged, or moderate, heavy play damaged, and then really do a close up, on that. There's a lot of stuff that's always trying to kind of skirt that line, right? But to be fair, nothing too misleading in that. You just have to really be careful. Jacob 67671 says good binder card. Yeah, I like those cards a lot for binders. The issue is I only like them if they go for damaged prices. You know what I mean? So I'm not exactly sure what a PSA 4 or 5 Rayquaza is going for, but probably quite a bit still. It's probably could be more than that. Could be around that. I'm not sure. I'm really not following the Rayquaza in all grades at the moment. But if the PSA 10's going for 30,000, 9's going for 10, maybe down to for the 8s, maybe 6-ish, you'd think, and then the 5s and the 4s down to 8s. Yeah, it could be like in there for a 3, maybe. Yeah, I wouldn't say this is misleading condition, because very good is actually a 3, or it could be considered, it all depends on, the how we call things. Yeah, literally, as I'm saying, that AP Sports is saying, problem with PSA is calls a 3 very good, so it's you just have to be careful. That's part of why, when you're new to this, and if anyone new in this hobby is coming across the channel, hopefully these are really valuable lessons to you specifically. Understanding the terminology and the lingo and the way people kind of sell their stuff is going to really help you sort out sort of what you really want to look for is when people say things like, when it's a reputable person, they say things like, I pulled this card myself. That's a really good sign. And they have a lot of mint cards that they open from a box, and they even still have the box. Like, that's the type of stuff that tends to be the best, because even really honest people, like they can miss things like that, because not everyone's looking as closely as someone like I am, or probably many people in the chat are. It's got a BGS pristine. This is something that I personally would probably avoid paying too much of a premium for a BGS pristine. Maybe a black label, but let's see. We got a Shadowless 9 here. Venusaur Shadowless cards are selling pretty well. I've always noticed. I've always been surprised at how much higher they go than like the rest of the set, minus the Blastoise and Charizard. I think it's part of why I have never picked up that many of them. And I've always more gone for like Mewtwo's and Alakazams and Gyarados, some of my. I am really surprised. So I don't know if this is legit. It's one bid, but I'm still surprised how much money non-holo Dark Charizard first editions are going from Team Rocket. I know I'm just like hating on specific cards, but we just happen to come up with them. Sealed in case new Pokemon Elite Trainer box, lot of 14 ETBs, one of a kind. Here's 14 booster boxes that there are thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of, but it's one of a kind. Okay, let's take a look here. Anything one of a kind here. So nothing too crazy. Got a Fates Collide. I think those are fairly difficult to find. You got the Evolution's Charizard in the middle. Dragon's Majesty. Those are not too easy to find. I have one of those back there somewhere that I saved when I bought it when it first came out. I love the Fates Collide because I love Alakazam. It's a cool one. I've always been a big fan of Elite Trainer boxes. I think they display really nice. I like the shape. I like that you can stack them on top of each other. They do take up a lot of space, a lot more space than booster boxes, particularly when you consider how many packs there are in booster boxes versus these. Definitely a thing to consider. It really depends on the set for me. The better the set is in terms of like that it's really fun to open packs, the more I would lean towards getting the booster box. The worse the set, yet the cool, and when it's less fun opening, but maybe still fairly expensive for a variety of reasons. And it has a cool ETB in it display as well. I would, tend to go for that. Obviously some of these sets only come in they don't have booster boxes like our Champions Path and Hidden Fates here. In terms of price, I don't know the prices of all these off the top of my head, but this would be something like I do buy lots like this occasionally. I do buy sealed lots. Generally speaking, you do not get as good of a deal on sealed lots. I find people are more willing to pay sort of just like full price. I even see sometimes people paying above market. It is one of the pros of being a sealed collector is I see people sell these kind of like sealed lots and actually get like 80-90% plus on their money. Whereas you might put the same amount of value of like graded cards. If you broke them up one at a time, they'd sell for like $1,000 and you might only get like 600, for it in this sort of way. Just something interesting that I see from watching, there are going to be tons of examples where that's not true, but just sort of overall what I tend to see. Again, I watch and bid on tens of thousands of auctions a month. So just sort of my experience, but it's based on, probably 100,000 data points in the last few years. Let's see, got a Flash Fire box here. Oh, we got a Neo Gen first edition PSA 10. So I'm always keeping a lookout for PSA 10 first edition Wansea Hollows. I'm tracking them right now to see how many come onto market. There have been a lot fewer of them recently than there were just 6 months ago. Generally, that's a very good sign for the vintage market. It's both. It's hard to know exactly why. Certainly, it's partially because prices have come down quite a bit, so people don't really want to sell as much. I also think a lot of them have sold. A lot of the people who needed to sell their collection because it was life-changing money have now sold it to people who can, for lack of a better word, more afford. And when I say afford, I don't just mean have the money for, but like where they're putting, they can afford to buy a $1,000 card or a $2,000 card and not feel anxious or, uncomfortable about it. And when cards find their way into those people's collections, it generally helps kind of stabilize the market and potentially slowly move it back up. This is a card I'm always looking to buy. Again, I would watch this if I was in my account. It's already up to 733 and only so, but I love the hollow pattern on these, on these shining, the shining Gyarados and the shining Magikarp from the Japanese side. And then the shining Mew, the Korokoro has the same sort of pattern. Really, really cool cards, I think. I love all of those Japanese shining cards, but those two are particularly cool because of that hollow pattern. And they're very, very, very hard to pull, very hard to find. So we've got another play promo here. So this one I'm actually looking to buy, this Crystal Ho-Oh in a PSA 10 Japanese still. So I might come back later and take a look at that. Again, I try not to buy these one card at a time. I really try and be patient. Let's see, take a look at the chat for a second here. Ooh, wow. Burning Shadows, $560 for a raw copy. This card is really maintained. surprisingly in some sense. I mean, I think I own, quite a few of those that I was able to kind of pick up over the years. I actually just bought a few recently. Just a really good deal. In a lot with a number of them. I think my price point on them was like maybe 200 each, 220 each. They did have some centering issues. They'd probably both be like 8s, but sub 200, I like those. $560. I mean, if someone took a look at this card and it was like in perfect condition, I mean, the thing is the PSA 10 is selling for like $2,000. It's just very, very hard to get a PSA 10 on this card. We can take a look at it together here. Yeah, so I mean, a little bit tough to see. Part of the thing on these cards is the let's see, you got a little nick on the bottom right. Generally, pretty tough to see. Maybe a little nick on the upper right, again. And then when we look at the front, when someone angles a card like that, it can be a little hard to see centering. And centering on a card like this is specifically difficult to tell because the centering on these rainbow rares, they're so thin on each side that even like slight differences really shift that that 60-40 or 55-45 that you need to clear when we're talking about centering. So that's part of what makes these cards so hard to grade. I see what looks like potentially a little bit of damage here and there. Again, really tough to tell. You have an 8.5 here that's already graded selling for $450. Like this card may not be above an 8.5. You just don't know. Says it's pack fresh, but again, I pulled one that graded like a 9, which was really good. And then I saw a couple people pull ones, and I had a friend pull one who pulled like pack fresh 7. It was just like had all sorts of like edgeware right out of the pack. So you got to be careful with these burning shadows. TCA, just making that money, grading those cards, flipping those cards. Full booster box. So for me right now in Brilliant Stars, guys, I'm just hoping that they're going to reprint enough that I'll be able to get it for cheaper. If I can't, I'll probably just miss the set, which I'm okay with. There are going to be so many good sets. This is what I try and keep telling people. There's going to be so many fun and enjoyable sets to collect. They're going to come out with specialty sets this next year with all new cool things. Brilliant Stars is a great set. I'd love to open some. I'd love to just keep a couple boxes sealed if I could, but I had an opportunity to buy them at about $130 each, I think $125 to $130 each, somewhere in there. And I was close. I thought about maybe just picking up like 1 or 2 boxes at that price just for fun. But, I'm going to wait and sort of try and pick them up more for the $100 price point. And if they don't get there, I'll just move on to the next set. Maybe eventually I'll buy that if Pokemon, takes a hit sometime in the future. Just for me personally, I know people ask me a lot about that set and ask everyone a lot about that set and what they would do. But as I always said, and I said this in like my modern investing or modern speculating video, it's nobody knows the amount that they're going to print of that. And it's very popular, but I also think there's a lot of people speculating on it that they're only going to do 2 waves is the thing that I hear people say, that they want to have a 3rd wave. And then also how big is that 2nd wave going to be historically? Is it going to be smaller as it might often be than the 1st wave, or is it going to be as big, or even bigger? I just don't know. So it's just too much for me to feel comfortable paying for a brand new set like that. I really try and avoid buying things when everybody wants it, when people are the most sort of impulsive and the hype's the highest. Here's kind of an interesting one. Chinese Rainbow Red Burning Shadows. Ooh, this is cool. Swampert EX Ruby and Sapphire. Man, these hollows were going for like $30, $30 to $40 back in the day, and nobody was going after them. And now they have such low pops. They're really freaking cool arts, and they're, first appearances of major, starters of major Pokemon in the hobby. I totally get it. I think that the prices on these at this price like makes a lot more sense to me than many cards in the hobby. I did buy a number of these types of cards. I don't think I have this specific one in PSA 10. They just never, I don't think I have ever seen this one. I don't think I ever saw it come up. I bought every one that came up for years, basically, in auction. I tried to. I'm sure I missed some, but I really tried to. Really cool cards. Big fan of those sets. And this is a lot for me to pick that card up because I'm doing a lot of things right now, but like, I wish I owned it. Here we've got a Cosmic Eclipse. Ooh, $500. I thought it was like at $350. Is it ticking back up or is this a weird sale, guys? I don't know. Someone can let me know. Okay, here we got an entire vintage Pokemon collection. This is kind of interesting. Got a first page of all of our starters, lots of base set hollows. Ooh, what do we got there? What's that hollow pattern there, guys? Interesting. So we kind of got a couple of non-hollow Blastoises there, one hollow Blastoise, and then we got some base sets. Is that hollow pattern, because it looks like a legit card, is that hollow pattern like some weird sleeve that's shining that, some weird sort of sunlight or sparkly thing coming from camera left, or is that if we got like a fake card back there? It looks real other than the weird sort of lighting. Huh. Strange. Yeah, I mean, they look legit. Yeah, we got a pretty heavy play Shadowless Venusaur there. Definitely a cool card, though. Nonetheless, you can see the damage on the top of it and on the corners there. Pretty rough. Blastoises, I'm seeing scratching. This one looks a little bit better, but again, in these binders, it's just hard to tell. They're dirty. There are a bunch of creases on the binders. You can't tell if the creases on the binder or the card, or the binder, the sleeve or the card. Pretty beat up. People are saying, oh, that's an old bulk sleeve. Yeah, I haven't seen those, interestingly, but the card looks legit. So they did have fake cards that had that sort of hollow pattern, but this card looks pretty legit. Those cards also usually look weird. So I don't really know. I'd have to see it in person. Again, it's not the biggest value card in the lot. The rest of these cards all look definitely super legit. Pretty played, but it's a cool binder. Bunch of cards. This would be a fun thing to buy. This really is not for me to buy. It's not a set. It's not something that I would buy to make money. I'm sure maybe if you bought this and you broke down some of the Charizards, maybe one of them they'd be good enough to get graded. Now they are based at 2 Charizards and not original base set, unfortunately. Maybe you could squeeze out a few bucks here, but it doesn't look like certainly not a big money maker. More of a fun buy, probably, for someone who is newer and wants to build a collection and have a bunch of these hollows. That's the type of thing I see here. But love those cards. And you never know. You never know what you're going to find in something like that. It is possible. But when you see some really beat up cards like that, it's pretty unusual that they have like really beat up cards. Not super unusual, but it makes it more unlikely that there's going to be like some really mint gems in there. Again, unless the person has been buying from a lot of different sources and putting it all together, this could just be a childhood collection, right? And then probably they're all going to be in fairly similar condition, somewhat played. Love this card. PSA 10, Plasma Storm Blastoise. Such a cool card. Big fan. Oh, 54 seconds on this. Quick, somebody bid. 480 on these guys. Yeah, these are really cool cards. I always thought these were always, I think, really underappreciated. Now I think that they're pretty fairly well appreciated or more appreciated, but they're the freaking gym leaders in like hollow forms in the gym sets with first edition stamps. I know that they're not full arts like our modern trainers, but I don't know. I think they're pretty sweet. I always liked them. I think it was one of these things where trainers just weren't people had so many bad experiences from base set jungle fossil where there are no hollow trainers, but when it came out maybe in the gyms, the trainers just felt they didn't feel as valuable or as collectible or worthwhile going after as the Pokemon. I think probably that's true for a lot of people instinctively. I do not understand why people are paying $500 for this Japanese Marnie. I do not understand. Can someone explain to me why everyone's obsessed with that Marnie card so much? It's not that rare compared to so many other things we looked at that you can get for $500. I don't know. Everyone has their own taste, I guess. Here's the CGC 8.5. I always like my CGC 8.5s. I like taking a look at them to see if maybe I buy them, maybe I crack and regrade this. Let's take a look at it. Let's see what we got here. So we got 8.5 surface, which is interesting. I do think I see a hairline scratch in sort of the upper left part of the hollow. Hard to tell, though, from this. Again, if you tilt it, there might be more scratches. Let's see. We got a corners of 8. Centering looks real nice to me. It's the first thing I noticed. Really beautiful card. Edges are a strong 9. Let's check the corners on the back here. Looks pretty good to me. I mean, we see some what it looks like potential scratching on the surface of the case probably, and then we got some schmutz. We got some of the famous CGC debris on the card there. But it looks pretty good. I mean, this could be a possible, switch over. I think with that scratching, you're not going to get a 10 on this, but let's see. Looks like there's probably a little bit of whitening on the bottom right. With this background, it makes it a little bit harder to see the whitening. So the whitening could be a little bit more. I'm catching a little bit more whitening on the side. So not the on the left side of the back, kind of towards ish the bottom, middle bottom. That would definitely take it. You'd think from a 10, and then you got a little white dot. It looks like on the bottom right, but I don't know if people are seeing anything else. But again, it's there's always a risk. Like when you're buying a card like this and you're hoping that it's going to regrade, it's much better as someone who wants to resell or something like that to buy a bunch of these at once, and then if any of them regrade, you're making a nice huge profit rather than just buying one. Now you could buy this and buy a bunch of them and then send them all off, type of thing. But generally speaking, if I were to take a chance at something like this, I'd be looking more at those golden and heritage. I bought a couple of those, where they had 10 of them or something up for sale at once, like a complete crystal set, that sort of thing. This is a super cool art, but that's way overpriced. I doubt. Got these metal cards. I have no idea how those will do in the long run. They're kind of interesting and unique. I just don't know. I don't really care about them that much. It would be a cool thing to add to your collection in the long run. Probably I have mixed feelings about them. I definitely get why you'd want one, particularly as a Charizard collector, that a lot of people are. This is a great card. PSA 10 Phantom Forces. These were quite difficult to grade. Beautiful looking card. How this, is, there are plenty of other cards that I think are even better, but this card is just so much better, so much harder to grade, so much cooler than that Marnie, from a much more expensive set in English. I don't know, much harder to pull. Maybe not much harder to pull, but much more expensive to pull is what I was searching for because of the price per pack. Let's see. This is that error Ho-Oh with the hollow bleed. It's fairly common. Karen's Umbreon. So nothing here that I saw that so far that really caught my eye. Start to get into sort of the lower price range. Okay, this is kind of interesting. Let's take a look. 8 to 10. So we got a modern lot with all of the cards that everyone's grading right now. Oh my God. So we got a ton of those Charizard promos, the most graded card ever. Those Champions Path Charizards. Yeah, so your big hitter here is going to be your Champions Path, but again, your Champions Path Rainbow Rare here. Got a couple of those Mewtwo EXs from Evolutions. Got a couple of Hidden Fates. All right, you guys want to see me add up this lot and how much I would pay for this lot? Here's what I'd pay if I were to buy this lot. And this would be a lot that I like don't want at all, but I would do it and then like, you know, maybe list a few of these and then maybe keep some of them just to sell or give away at like Collecticon or other sorts of things in the future. All right. Each one of these PSA 10 Champions Path Charizards, I'm paying $22 each. And in a lot like this, maybe I'd want them for 20. So let's add up the price that I would pay for this lot, just to show you an example. So we got, are they all 10s? I think they're all 10s. Yeah, they're all 10s. Okay, so we got 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, 200. So I'm paying $200 for those. I'll pay maybe, God, I really don't even want that card. $10, even though it's a 10. Probably get 20 out of it because it's a Charizard. 80, 60, 180, 200, 210. Let's see, 220, 230, 240, 50, 260, 10, 90, 80. So I think this lot, I would pay about $5. Let's see, it's got an Evolutions Charizard. About like $550, something like that on this lot. Let's see what it's going for right now. So right now it's $376 with 4 days. So there's still some room. Maybe a little bit less. I have to check to see what that Rainbow Rare Charizard is selling for. But I think that card I could probably sell right away for, it's a PSA 10. That card's probably going over $200 still, I would think. Someone can let me know what it's going for. I don't feel like looking it up, but your average player said someone bought one for 90 yesterday. Yeah, I mean, I think they've been going for mostly like 50 to 60. Pikachu says, any thoughts on the large amount of Art Academy cards that have hit eBay, PWCC, et cetera, recently, and that you've picked up before or thought about buying? I haven't. I need to check to see what's going on there because I haven't looked at the Art Academies there. What's the large Pikachu? How many are hitting there? Like a couple or like 10? They've always been, Art Academy cards have always been trickling out and been selling over the past few years. Yeah. So I'd probably be paying that much. I bought a lot of this type of a lot. I was getting it for really cheap, like about like when I was making those, like now's the best time to buy video, like right around then I bought like a few of these types of lots at like $10 to $15 a card, basically. You know, I'd buy those PSA 10 champion stamps for about Champions Path type cards for like 15 to 20. And there's just so much of this. All these cards, like these are the most common cards coming back. This is basically like here are all of the cards that everyone is grading and that all the pop reports that are going up as much as possible. I just want to get rid of these because I can't sell them. So buying these types of cards, I would be very careful about as a business or as an investor. You might have to hold them for quite a long time in order to liquidate and sell them and or start listing them. I mean, yes, people are buying these for $50 to $55. You know I'm seeing that $50 to $60. Someone said one sold for 90, but like it's, if I already have a bunch that I'm selling, then I'm slowly going through. Do I want to add another 20 of them? How long is that going to sell? Those are the types of things. A full set of 2010 on PWCC individually listed. A full set of 2010? What's 2010 what? So Art Academy is 2015. Oh, we got a PSA 10. I haven't seen this card in a little bit. Giovanni's Machamp going. Definitely one of the easier cards to grade in PSA 10 in the set. Generally, Gym Challenge is not super, super crazy hard to grade. Light Arcanine, definitely one of the most popular cards, I would say, from the WotC era. Arcanine's super popular Pokemon. Arcanine always sells really, really well. People love Arcanine. If Arcanine got more like gold stars and like big hitters, it would be and it featured more, I think. I'm surprised they don't feature it more. No rainbow rare Arcanines. I mean, what are you doing to us? I would love a rainbow rare Arcanine. Or gold card Arcanine, whatever, both. Here we got a PSA 10 Mew. I bought a few of these from these guys, and this was like right as Pokemon was ticking up, and I bought them for like $60 each, and they canceled all my orders because the prices went up. I still remember that because it was I hate people who cancel and then relist the item. They cancel and they tell you, oh, like I couldn't find it or something like that. And then the next day they relist it because they're just, scummy. It's scummy, in my opinion, to make a deal with someone and then either way, and then renege. I bought things that I wish I hadn't and had buyer's remorse, and I, go through with it. Freshly graded max rarity, the rarest card in the world, Gold Star Umbreon. Shining Mewtwo, yeah, like it's just a lot. I know people like that card a lot, but I'd much rather buy that like Gengar we were looking at earlier. A much harder card to pull, much harder card to grade. I think a cooler art, but again, it's all subjective. I know everyone loves this art so much. I think it's cool, but I just feel like it got talked about so much as like everyone's favorite art. And I have a few of that Mewtwo and none of that Gengar because you can't get that Gengar. It's really hard to get that Gengar in PSA 10. It's extremely easy to get that Mewtwo in PSA 10. Just like little things like that is the way I think about and look at the hobby. And Gengar and Mewtwo to me are just like, if not S tier, both certainly A tier Pokemon. Oftentimes Gengar outsells Mewtwo, although the two of them just are probably overall sell pretty similarly on most things. They sell very high. Gengar definitely doesn't get the same love generally as Mewtwo does in terms of the number of chase cards, of hit cards that Pokemon gives it. There's another Rayquaza up for sale from Israel. Ooh, we got a fire emojis. Invest. Everyone knows they're the best things to invest in. I love these. They're just expensive, unfortunately, but beautiful like PSA 9 Shadowless like Alakazam hollows are gorgeous, but like I bought like a PSA 5 Shadowless Alakazam for $18 a couple days ago. Like, and to me, that is like phenomenal value. It's, you know, at the cost of considerably lower than the cost of grading right now, and will, you know, won't be too much higher than the cost of grading once grading gets back to normal. And it's still a beautiful looking card. Some people would say they don't want a card like that graded. They just prefer a binder copy, which I get, but I like graded cards. I like the way they look. So I'm always looking for great value and for deals like that. Sometimes over the 9s and 10s. Okay, so this is like the type of modern set that could be interesting. We got a reserve, which is always like all right, so I'm going to waste my time bidding on this, and then I'm going to win it, and then the reserve's going to be ridiculously high. That's what goes through my head whenever I see a reserve. Okay, not an exciting first page. The most exciting card on this page to me is the Marshadow Gx from Burning Shadows, because it shows me that, okay, maybe there's going to be like some Sun and Moon Rainbow Rare era cards that actually have some decent value and I think are potentially undervalued. I you know, this stuff I would all avoid pretty much at this point. Again, it's all about price point. If you can pick these up for like, you know, $1 a card in here, it's good value, but you know, you got a few things that people, you know, the good thing, the nice thing often about picking up things like this is they do end up tending to be super mint and pack fresh in many cases. And because grading is so expensive right now, I'm buying a lot of lots like this for really cheap. And the cards are actually Gem Mint 10 worthy because people aren't able to like send off the 10s and then like sell the 9s or 8s, the off-centered ones, as much as like they might've been at one point. So, but yeah, this one's stuff, a pass for me. And apologies if these are any of your lots out there. That's always the risk of doing this. I don't want to have a negative impact on anyone. It's all for education and for fun, entertainment. Got these mystery lots. People love these things. I've been seeing these all over the place. All right, so we got an ungraded Magikarp. Poncho Pikachu Magikarp. It's a classic. Got the Evolutions sealed authentic box. Surprised we haven't seen more of those. Probably have. I just glossed by them. You know, 3 Darkness Ablaze that's going for basically full price. A random graded card collection of lots of different random grading companies. Let's see what this looks like. Already at $257 and then $40 shipping. Uh-oh. Oof. Oof. Hard pass. $13 bids. Oh, people are really going after that one. This card has went up crazy in value. This Uyami's Pikachu. I feel like it never went for so much more than the other vending series back in the day. I feel like this was like a $50 card and the vending series cards were maybe like, you know, $5 each. And now the vending series cards are like still like $5 to $10 each. But this card's like $300. Raw, I mean. It's a Pikachu and it definitely stands out. So I can't blame people. And there are lots of just Pikachu collectors. $285 for a first edition Hollow Fossil card. I mean, things are still selling well. I mean, there are a lot of this card, you know, and it's not that hard of a card to grade. And it's not first appearance, you know, of Zapdos. You know, these Easter Pikachu. They're okay. I think I have a couple. Again, these were so cheap. All cards that Twice Baked Jake, I feel like, showed a lot on his channel. And I think introduced a lot of people and got a lot of people interested in them. SM Pratt, I think, showed some of those too at one point. Ooh. All right, let's check this one out. All near mint. And then maybe I'll go to some questions, guys. I'm sure people have been asking questions. Let's see. Not exciting. Okay, we got the gold Houndoom. I like that card. You know, quite a bit. There's going to be quite a bit of that card. That card's selling for decent money, I think. I think that's probably still a $30, $40 card, probably. You know, a lot of $1 cards. You got the Suicune. The thing about Shining Fates is there are so many baby shinies that, like, to pull each individual baby shiny is pretty difficult. So to get like a standout baby shiny like the Suicune is always the one that sells for the most. You know, I think the starter ones are interesting how little they sell for. I personally think that those are the most undervalued by far in this set. And I think will be, if Pokemon does well in the future, those will be like a lot of kids' favorite Pokemon or starters that they played in their video games, or some of their favorite Pokemon. Then we just got a lot of V cards, a lot of bulk. So again, you know, like if I were to buy all these cards right now on TCG Player, I could individually, it probably cost me $250. So I think sometimes it's like when you buy a bunch of cards like this and a lot like that, like you should be paying like under 50%. And that would have been like what the market used to be. So it's interesting kind of what people are paying for right now for these, particularly because all these cards are like, you are not going to make money on these. Like these are all so insanely plentiful right now. There's an endless amount of Shining Fates because Shining Fates can't be graded right now because it's not pricey enough. And so there's just a ton of it sitting raw on the market. You know, and there aren't that many of these like Shining V, like it wasn't that difficult to like pull each individual one. So there's tons of them. And a lot of these cards are sitting for like $3, $4 on TCG Player. Some of them are sitting for like $1, like the Indeedee and like the Phalanx. I was buying them for like $1, under $1 in bulk. Prices may have come up a bit now, but just be careful. It's why knowing your prices is really important. You might look at that and say, oh, it's a really nice binder. You know, that's 3 days left and already up to that price. So L-Dub says last heat check, the Houndoom was down to like 22-ish. Wow. So that really is like, that's by far the best card that I saw, unless I missed something in there. You know, everything else is really bulk. You're near bulk, just above bulk. I guess it's a decent lot for someone who's like maybe like raffling and making money off of someone, you know, a different sort of way. But again, like TCG Player, you could just buy all the ones you really want and not the ones you didn't want, you know, as a collector. Let's see. Got a Hidden Fates Elite Trainer box. I wish they had not printed so much Hidden Fates. I think it would have been cool if they had printed less and made it a little bit more special. But because it's such a cool, amazing set, there's just so much of it that it kind of makes it less special when they oversaturate the market so much. All those stonkers who were hoarding the product told Pokemon to keep printing. Let's see, modern and vintage binder plus bulk. Do not like the bulk. The plus bulk, I do not. And as soon as I see plus bulk, I go to shipping, $55 standard shipping. Okay. So basically I'm paying I'm paying $55 to like throw out what you didn't want to throw out. No, bulk isn't that bad, but it depends on what the bulk is. It can be that bad though. Not a good start here. All right, what do we got on the first page? Basically nothing. Okay, got some more interesting stuff here. We got some hollows, some black and white, a little bit of diamond and pearl, mostly black and white. A little bit of a EX series there at the X Power Keepers. A little bit of a modern mix in there. Nothing too exciting. Got some first editions thrown in there. But again, the market now, like I'm buying PSA 9 first edition, first editions of these cards for like 10, $11 now. So they just have no value ungraded, like not even $1. I'd much rather buy the 9 for $10 than I'd buy one of these for 50 cents or $1, to be completely blunt with all of you guys. Those are really crashed. I think they'll come back up, but there's just a lot being graded right now. Yeah. So again, just not a lot of value there. Pokemon Hollow says SF is saturated with Hidden Fates isn't as saturated. The demand is there. SF is saturated with no demand. So right now, the demand, it depends what we mean, right? Pokemon Hollow, because it's all relative, but I'm picking up tons of Hidden Fates, not necessarily the sealed product, which has maintained certainly a much higher value, although the Shining Fates product has been going up too, the sealed product, and is doing well, considering how much everyone hated it, it's doing quite well. But the raw cards, I would say both are oversaturated in the sense that there are 100 listings of like every card plus on TCG Player, every card basically. That to me is oversaturated. What are people asking here? Not PSA 10s, Tommy Fogle, PSA 9s. Sorry if I said PSA 10s. Yeah, I can't get first edition PSA 10s for 10 to 11. I can get PSA 10 first editions for like occasionally 20, but mostly around 30. Like, I tend not to not buy them at that price. I do buy some. I will buy the uncommons higher. So the commons, unless they're a really prominent Pokemon, a starter or a really popular Pokemon, I'm looking at like the $10, $11, $12 price point. And then for PSA 9s, and then PSA 10s, I'm willing to pay about double basically. And again, I'm getting those cards at when I buy that 9 at $10 to $11, it's a $10 probably grading fee eventually. So I'm buying the mint card for $1 and then the slab, thinking that people will want it slabbed. So there's clearly some pretty good value there. Let's see. Pokemon says, can you tell me what the Articuno and Pokemon Raiders Instagram video today was and what it goes for? I didn't see, so I don't know what he was showing. Someone I think below said it's the phone card. So there were 3 phone cards of the 3 legendary birds, and I'm not sure what they're selling for right now. They fluctuated in price pretty decent amount. Definitely a considerably rare card from a very important historic tournament and time period in Pokemon, but mixed sort of interest because they're phone cards. And I think some people like them, some people don't like them. They're kind of subjective. I think they're okay. I definitely, if you can pick them up at a good price, I think that they're cool for sure. I think, and they certainly have great rarity and history to them. But here's a first edition fossil, the cheapest, I guess, this and Magneton, right? For going for $255 right now. Still think it's a pretty good deal for a PSA 10 hollow, even if it is muck. just because Muck is, not only is Muck not the most popular Pokemon, I personally really like Muck, but Muck is it's just so easy to grade because the hollow pattern is very dark. It's a very small hollow. Just much less issues on this card than pretty much any card in the set. So it's just it was always much easier to get that in a 10. You know, little things like that you just sort of pick up over time. And hopefully this is helpful for you guys just to sort of hear how I process things and what I'm doing when I look through all these items. First issue jungle packs, you know, just always be careful that you're buying from a reputable seller if you're buying these, you know, loose packs. Great card here. I love EX Dragon. I love this set and I love this card. You know, they've gone up in price quite a lot. I wish they were still cheap because I just keep buying them, but I think I have my share. Here's another binder. Right off the bat, you know, a lot more interesting because we're seeing these like, you know, these I like these full art EX cards that we have here in the middle. This Dark Iron Latios. Most of the sets you're going to see out there right now, mostly it's not even Sun and Moon, let alone X and Y or Black and White. And so whenever you see any X and Y or Black and White, it piques my interest because it's like, okay, we're going to get a little more. Obviously, this could be the best page in the entire thing and often is. And it's not a great sign that they've put some of those other cards on there, to be completely honest. But we'll take a look here. Oh no, we got some Shining Legends in there. Let's see. Yeah, definitely a little bit more of an interesting mix. Got Pikachu Zekrom Gold card in there. Got some decent full arts from some of those from Team Up, and Team Up's a great set. I really like some of those Sun and Moon sets. Yeah, these are not so interesting. Basketball. LaMelo Ball. Card's probably worth $1 million. No. Yeah, like more interesting, you know, $250 worth, probably not. Again, I'd have to go check to see exactly what these are looking for. If I was very interested in these, I would want, and if I felt most of the dollar value was in potentially grading those like EX cards on the first page, and if they actually got 10s or even 9s, I would probably ask and reach out for pictures. You only have 2 hours. Interesting little thing. You know, there's one bid right now. When I see that, I'm kind of interested. What's going on here? I look down, I see 15 watchers. It means that there's probably quite a bit of interest in this. There might be quite a bit of sort of last minute bidders or sort of people on the fence of this one. Kind of interesting. Definitely not crazy exciting though. But those are the types of cards that I look to pick up in like gem minty condition for good values, because in graded condition, they're still going for quite a bit. And I'll just kind of hold them, put them aside. And I don't think those cards are going to be massively graded. Like we're seeing, you know, Champion's Path and On. Champion's Path and On in Sword and Shield is going to be so much more graded, in my opinion, than the stuff earlier. Let me go through this just a little bit more, guys, and then because I can't do this and do the chat, and then I'm sure people are asking questions, and I apologize, I'm not answering. PSA 9 Shadowless, Shining Charizard, great card. Nothing that grabs my attention too much here. Some good strong cards. The fact that these are going for this much already, you know, they're going to definitely come down in value. Whew. And I think I was seeing them sell for quite a bit higher too. It's not nearly as bad as Celebrations. I remember when Celebrations first came out and I saw people buying those Celebrations Charizards for like 300, 400, 500 bucks and those Umbreons for like 200 to 300 bucks. I called Dan and we were talking, and Dan got product early. And so he opened up a bunch and then he just sold it all. And he was selling like all those Pikachus for like 30 bucks each that are now like $1, under $1 each. It's just insane. And it just shows how the market doesn't think about what I think about, right? It doesn't think, how rare is this? How many are going to be pulled? When is the best time to buy it? When is the market going to be most flooded? When is demand going to be the highest and supply going to be the lowest? Demand's going to be the highest and supply is going to be the lowest. Probably right in the beginning, and then at a certain point in the future, right? There's going to be two kind of inflection points. One where a lot of the product isn't yet put out. They're going to release a lot more. And so only, a tiny bit of it is out, particularly in that first week when a lot of it isn't even out yet. And people get some of their product early and then put it on market before the set's even officially released, those types of moments. And all the eyes are going to be on that. And all the, sometimes I think people just buy it for like the Instagram clicks or something, or for their channel to push like they know what they're doing. Like they're willing to pay more just to get those eyes and attention or something. I'm not sure, but yes, learn the cycle. Oh, here's a cool one. So this card always sold for so much more than all of the other holos for some reason in this set, the non-crystals, obviously crystal Charizard is going to sell for more, but I never really understood it. Gengar is really sweet. Gengar is a cool card, but this is like the first Gengar in history that sells like way, way, way more than every other. Like when we talked earlier, how like Gengar versus Mewtwo, or like Gengar versus Alakazam, the amount more that this Gengar sold for. But this is a cool one. You do not see this card come up much. I can tell you that much. This is going to be a pretty low pump, I would think. I can't even remember the last time I saw a reverse holo PSA 10 of this card. So, and there are people out there who are trying to complete the set. So you never know with something like that. Sometimes they can go for as much or more than the holos. Not for me personally, but I definitely would prefer more of the holo. The rarity doesn't do it for me. Rarity alone is not what does it for me generally. Let's see. Got the Lugia EX from Unseen Forces. Vintage Pokemon card collection, 300 plus. We got some first editions on the front page. I like these like rares from the Neo sets that like get like unique art. How a lot of, obviously, like Jungle Fossil, for example, Rocket, they have like the same art. The rares have the same art as the holos, and I like that Neo actually came up with new arts. So I've always gone after those cards because I think it's actually really cool and unique and interesting. And you got your Dark Light Pokemon from Destiny. Don't think none of those are holos up at the top. They're all just first edition non-holos. Yeah, just a lot of like, looks like there's a holo Vaporeon there. Just a Gyarados there. A lot of it's kind of an interesting, fun lot. I mean, it's a good lot for building sets. I don't think at this point in the market it's something that you're going to be looking to break down and make money, off of. But it's a good lot if you're a collector and you're looking to build out those sets, particularly in first edition. I could definitely see the appeal, and I think some of those cards go for a decent amount. When you get those sort of like rare Neo first editions in pretty good condition, non-holos, I think they can probably go for 10, 15, 20 bucks ungraded, I would think. So I'm going to go for another 30 minutes or so, fellas and ladies. And we can definitely do this again. Hopefully it's been fun and interesting for people. Skyridge Alakazam here. Classic, wonderful card. This, the Umbreon alt art. Beautiful card. There's just quite a few of them still. That'll be a card that I aim to buy sometime down the road. We got a PSA 10 here, Dark Tyranitar Japanese. It's kind of a lot. These have really shot up in price. These Altimeras. I've always seen them around. I don't think I have them. I think I have an ungraded copy of them. They just never really did it for me that much, even though I think that they're cool. Let's see. All right, I think that's probably good for now. Why don't we do some questions and go from there. So if you guys have your questions, if you guys have any questions, now is a good time to ask them of me. All right, let's see what people have been asking. Yeah, the Altimaras are or I don't even know how to say the word, honestly, are cool. You know, they really have that Versus series. They always felt, you know, like an extension of the Versus series. I bought quite a bit of the non-hollow ones. Pikachu says, well, my camera is so bad right now. It's hilariously bad. Okay, Pikachu question. I'm going to have to buy another camera. My camera is clearly broken. It's really frustrating. I just really want it to work again. I'm being stubborn. Unfortunately, I'm just going to have to buy a new one. Pikachu says, question, what are your thoughts on the PSA 904 top 16 tropical wind that sold today / yesterday? Buyer took best offer for 10K. I think it was an accurate price. Thoughts? For top 16. Isn't that the card that you were selling? Or you were, or maybe you sold it. You were selling a PSA 10, maybe. I forget. Yeah, I mean, I think that what I always tell people when they ask me about that card is that it's a very niche market at this point. There aren't that many of them. It's whatever someone is willing to buy it at. If you ask me, just my personal opinion, not what I think other people should buy it at, that seems within the ballpark. Like, I don't see that number and I think, oh my God, that's crazy based on the rest of the market, you know. 04s are very highly valued. They tend to be the last one that a lot of people need. That's why people pay up so much. I also think they're being held by a few people, a number of them. Like, they're not, there's some from different years that are much rarer than that card, right? Not much rarer, because that year, for those who don't know, in the 04 that year, every place only got the card that they finished at, rather than like the top place getting all of the cards and then the quarterfinalists getting also a top 16 32 like they did the other years. So that's part of why there are a few of them, but like there's a lot less of that card, for example, than you're going to see of like a champion or a finalist, probably, of, you know, certainly a champion stamp. So it's interesting sort of what people value things at. I value certain things differently. So that there are others that I think are cheaper that should be more, but overall that seems like probably a fairly reasonable amount for that. It is what it is on that card. You know, if that's what people are asking for, I certainly don't think that that's way on the line of what people have been asking. Generally, I've heard people ask a lot more. So Vase Trainer says, have you seen us impressive latest video on the most expensive card in the hobby? If so, what is his opinion on his take? I turned it on and then I clicked forward because I wanted to hear what he was going to say. And then he didn't say anything. And I was like, oh, you're just showing the card. And I guess he's like, I'm not sure I really understand why he did that, to show off that he owns it and that like he's like taking a victory lap that he owns it, even though he didn't sell the one that just sold. I'm not really sure I understand. And like, I don't, who is he again? Like, I read some takes that he's like trolling people, or like, who's he trolling? Like, I don't really understand it, to be completely honest. You know, if you had a card that sold for $1 million, like, is he going to sell his now because it sold so high? Or is he going to keep it and then not sell it? So does it really matter that it sold? Like, I don't really know. It's definitely a really surprise. I was interested to hear his take. You know, I would assume he's very surprised at how high it sold, unless he knew the buyers, because I think anyone in this hobby who's been following this hobby closely was very surprised that it sold that high, because we had one sell at a higher point in the Pokemon hobby for 1/3 the price almost. So it's interesting that now that most cards across the board, including very similar type trophy cards, are selling for quite a bit less. It's interesting that that card sold for like triple the amount. And I would assume that would be his take. And then his take might be, it makes sense because it's the card or something. I don't really know. If another one comes up and it continues to sell that price, I mean, you know, it's the same thing as this other card, right, that we were just talking about. It's like when you have a card that's pretty rare, and like that card's probably similarly rare to this card. It's a little bit rarer because you would have had how many? You would have had 3 times. Theoretically, you would have had 48 of them or something versus 39 or something that they say that they have. They're in the same ballpark of rarity. It's sort of like, if you want the card, you have to pay the price that people are willing to take, or in this case, you have to pay the price that in an auction, you know, if someone else is willing to pay $1 million, also you've got to pay $1 million to buy it, and it sort of is what it is. It's whatever people are willing to pay. It can work drastically the other way though, right? You know, if you have a very niche card that costs a lot of money and there are basically no buyers, or there are only buyers who are willing to spend 100,000, then a card like that plummets back down to 100,000. So I think it's just understanding how the market works for that card and the, you know, potential risk. It's why it's so important that if you're buying something like that, you can really afford it and afford to hold it. And you know, it's one of the key cards in our hobby, and a lot of people, it's their chase card or their favorite card. You know, I congratulate Scott on owning a very expensive card, I guess. I don't know. Were people like hating on Scott for owning that card or something? I'm not really sure. Like, Java Akuma Pokemon said, just to show off, laugh out loud. Yeah, I mean, it's a little like, okay. um, let's see. Briar Owen says, why is the unlimited Lugia still so cheap compared to modern, when even unlimited pop is still low? I don't know. I don't know the exact pop or what it's selling for exactly. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be some unlimited, you know, Neo cards in particular, because a lot of Neo seems to be pretty low printed and unlimited, that are probably undervalued as compared to modern. Certainly, I would think. And I think a lot of it just has to do with demand, current demand. I think in the future, demand will sort of shift your way. Jake has multiple 6 figures worth of cards in his camera. It's like 120p res. I love it. Thoughts on the Umbreon VMAX Alt Art had dipped to 130 price range, now has been strongly climbing past couple months and is approaching 300 to 350 raw. I think it's the strongest card of 2021. Let me take a look. I'm interested to see what it's selling for. I'm going to check TCG Player just as a quick way. So it looks like the cheapest near mint on TCG Player right now is around 240. Let's see what it was selling for a while ago, because I didn't realize it got that low. I mean, I saw this card selling for over $1,000 for a while, like graded. So you might be right, like you might have accurate numbers, but I just need to check. So I'm just going to quickly check the grading history just so we get accurate data. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. Okay, I believe this is the right card. We're talking about number 215, right? Yeah, 215. Okay. So if they're 357 PSA 10s and only 31 PSA 9s, which means it's an extremely easy card to grade, like very, very easy. The 10s are selling for around $700 to $800 in the last couple of months. They were selling for, let's see, they were selling for about 500 to 600 about a month ago and are now definitely creeping up. They've creeped up about, I would say on average, about $150 or so. Yeah, I mean, I think like the raw cards are very undervalued as compared to the graded right now if you're going to pick one, right? Particularly because most of these are probably 10s. Like you could grade them right now for $50. So like that's an example of like a very weird situation. Like, and you should not be buying the 10s for way more. Makes absolutely no sense at all. As far as like that card being the best card of the year, do I think it's going to like keep going up or all these types of things? I don't know. It's a great looking card. It's the card that definitely stood out the most to me. I guess the English one never sold for 1,500. I guess it's the Japanese that I was seeing that was selling for like over 1,000. Now that I'm thinking about it, and part of that was because of the time period when that card was out. It was still a much higher time in the hobby. I'm trying to recall. But yeah, what do I think it's going to do in the future? I'm surprised that it's ticking up right now. It definitely shows, at least for the time being, significant demand, because you'd think that more and more Evolving Skies is also being opened, and thus supply should be increasing on the market of a card like that. And yet it's still going up in value, which means that demand is actually probably increasing for that card for whatever reason right now. It seems a little strange because it's like Evolving Skies just came out. It could easily get another reprint very easily. Maybe it's less likely at this point because they have so many sets that they need to reprint, and they've already printed so much of these things that it's unlikely, but who the hell knows? It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for a chase card. I mean, the chase cards back in the day were like, for example, like I'm just going to say like the Umbreon Rainbow Rare from Sun and Moon base was like $20, and it was just as hard to pull. back in the day. And even now, a PSA 9 of that like Umbreon from Sun and Moon base, which is a more expensive set than Evolving Skies right now, I believe. Sun and Moon base was definitely not the most popular Sun and Moon set, but same Pokemon, right? It's going for like $50 in PSA 9, 50 to $60. And that one is so it's tough. I mean, it's the whole demand thing. Like people are going to say, well, I don't like rainbow rares and that card is super beautiful. And I really enjoy that card and I really enjoy the way it looks. And I think that collecting, definitely something beautiful looking is part of collecting, but a big part of collecting is also nostalgia and enjoyment of familiarity and things that remind you of stuff and remind you of eras. It's why I think that looking back, people are really going to like those rainbow rares too. People who were in the Sun and Moon era are going to be very connected to those cards. I think people in this era will be very connected to the alt arts and really enjoy them. But I think that the huge disparity in price between those things seems like a risk to me. Now, as far as like that being the best card of the year, I have mixed feelings on that. I generally like the best card of the year to be a new Pokemon from that generation. But clearly the most expensive card, from the Sun and Moon era was the Burning Shadows Charizard, was a Charizard. Will the most expensive card from this era be a Charizard? Maybe not. Maybe it'll be this Umbreon. Maybe. I'm not sure how much the Rayquaza is going for. This card is a particularly beautiful art, and I think, and people really like Umbreon, and so those are a bunch of my thoughts on it. It's definitely not something I'd be investing in, but if you like it, go for it, and we'll see how it does. I think there's a lot of bullishness on these and a lot of excitement around them, and I'm just not sure how it's going to age, in a year or two when people are a little bit more bored of it, and there's going to be really cool shiny things out there that are going to be competing with it. So we'll see how it goes. Thor the Odin says has $1 million worth of Pokemon cards, can't afford a $40 webcam. Yeah, so I have a camera that I'm still hoping is going to work. Part of it is just that I don't like to waste, so I don't want to buy another camera if I don't need a camera, and I have one that should be working, and I'm thought it was going to work now, and it just stopped working. So, but yes, I am also I try not to waste, and I try not to spend unnecessary money on things. I'm pretty careful with money. People are so touchy on the alt arts, I've found. People are very touchy in general when you give it an opinion on something and you just state facts. I was reading some comments about people just really frustrated with like my take on alt arts, and I was like, I don't know, I was a bit taken aback because I think that it's a really useful take. Like, even if you're very bullish on them, it's important, and you should seek out sort of the other perspective and the other side, and you should feel free to sort of disagree with me. But I have quite a bit of experience and success, and it definitely doesn't mean that I'm going to be right on everything. But I think that it's worth considering when I'm saying. So hopefully people can like relax a little bit. Just like, it's okay to have differences of opinions. Briar Owen says, do you think the gold shiny cards or alternate art in Teleon is even remotely investable? Because even though the Poirier is very tough, there's so much being printed. Yeah, it's just really hard to know how it's all going to age and how much is going to be printed from this era versus other eras. So I think that if Pokemon does really well in the future, that a Pokemon that is from this era, a starter, and buying key cards of that Pokemon particularly buying sort of like a secret rare and up, right? Or a rainbow rare and up. Whether that's a gold card or an alt art, makes sense. I think that they'll likely do well in the long run, but there's just no guarantee in any of this stuff. There's a lot of like jerks in this world, in this hobby right now, frankly, who are bullying people who are anxious about spending money and investing on cardboard items, and I think that there's a lot more. You are not a wimp. Don't let these like diamond handed, hodlers bully you into buying and holding stuff when you should probably have that money or spend that money on, education or a house or stocks or other sorts of things. So, but I having said all of that, yes, if Pokemon works out, though, I think those items over time will stand out. I always target and look for specifically in the Sun and Moon era. I'm looking at, Sugalio, Lunala. In the X and Y, I'm looking at Xerneas, Yveltal. I think that there's something to that, and I never hear anyone say it. I never hear anyone talk about it. I think the legendaries or mythicals from, or key things in the name and in the concept of the, Zamazenta and Zacian for Sword and Shield. I think those are key, and then I think the stars are key, and I think they'll always stand out. And then I think all new Pokemon within that era will have some historicness and stand out. You have to, if you believe this hobby is going to be successful and it's still going to be printing cards, and there's going to be a humongous collector scene in 20 to 30 years, that stuff is what is going to separate and going to be here in this generation. There's going to be tons of collectors who are looking to collect every first appearance. There's going to be looking to collect every starter. There's going to be looking to collect, like, the market is going to be totally different than it is now. What people are going to be going after and searching for is going to be a lot more similar to what sports does. So if you want to understand what Pokemon is likely going to do, go study the sports market, go study the comic book market to a little bit of a lesser extent. And that is likely how this hobby will evolve too. All right. Ryan M said, I just don't see nostalgia levels ever reaching what our generation had for Gen 1. Yeah, it's something I just don't know, Ryan. We just don't know. And I definitely agree that, like, assuming that's some sort of guarantee, there's nothing to base that off of. And kids today have so many different, I think a lot more. And I think when we were kids, the video game was like the thing that everyone was playing, that everyone was doing. Now there's like a million video games. There's a million cool options. There's tons of different communities. There's tons of different things you can be involved in. Social media is open so much that, although I think it's also made Pokemon a lot more enjoyable and accessible, because you can actually join groups like this, and you can join Patreons or member channels or live breaks that people do, with PokeRev, and you can hang out with a bunch of people that you see every week. It's like all that makes the hobby so much more enjoyable. But there's also so much of that in other areas to sort of compete with it, that competing for kids' attention today. Now, I will say qualitatively, like, a bunch of kids I know love Pokemon. They're obsessed with Pokemon, and it's not like me or any adult pushing it on them. There's something about Pokemon that is very attractive to kids still. Just like we were into Pokemon, not because our parents were telling us to be into Pokemon. There's a similar sort of thing that still happens today. That I see. So, all right. I think I'm going to start winding down, fellas, from there, because I do have to run. I have a basketball game tonight that I'm going to do. But yeah, we did, for people just joining in now. Yeah, we did an eBay hunt earlier that you guys can watch. I basically just looked through a bunch of auctions and talked about what I saw and just kind of shared some of my opinions. Yeah, people are asking me, like, if I had $5,000 or $2,000, like, what would I buy? I don't answer that. And I have an answer, and I'm actively buying all the time. I'm surrounded by cards, but I don't want to tell people exactly what I'm buying. I think you can tell the type of stuff that hopefully I give enough information that people can tell and understand the type of stuff that I think is better, the way I think. And most importantly, I just hope this channel helps you think more critically and push out the jerks and the noise and the people who are demanding you to think a certain way in this hobby. Thanks, Daniel. Anyway, as always, really appreciate everyone's support. If you can like the video, subscribe. If you can join the Patreon, become a member, any of that stuff, click the affiliate link, down below if you're buying something on eBay at no cost to you. All of that really supports what I'm trying to build here. I think we have a great community on Patreon. We had like 25 people in chat, the other day. Had a really interesting, great conversation. We're going to a lot of collecticons and other sorts of things. And, we're going to do a bunch of meetups at the different collecticons, I'm sure. A lot of you, or a number of you guys I know, got to meet Dan, and he said he had a blast. We were talking about earlier today that he had a blast meeting all of you. And I will continue to just try to pump out different content, try to keep it interesting, trying to keep it entertaining, trying to do different things that bring people value. Okay. All right. So really appreciate it as always. And I will see all of you again in the next one. And I'm going to have to buy a camera this week. I'm very frustrated that I'm going to have to just like throw out this camera that was working like last week, but I think it is what it is at this point. So, all right, everyone have a good night.